Welcome, everybody, to the Kids Cyber Safety webinar by Terry Cutler. We're really grateful for him to be there today with us. We created CISO Platform with the vision of collaboration among senior cybersecurity executives. As a part of this vision, we have created more than 200 plus checklists and frameworks. In the past, we had been largely focusing on activities which helps the security community. Last year, we embarked on an initiative for helping the future generation, which would be the kids. Cyber safety of kids are one of the biggest concerns we are facing as a society. So we decided to join hands to help in spreading the awareness to build a safer cyber world for the kids. And here we really need your help. Today, that's exactly what we're going to do. Today, we're happy to have renowned ethical hacker Terry Cutler as a speaker. He will speak on how kids can be safe online. The session is extremely relevant for the kids as well as our community members who have taken up the initiative to conduct similar trainings in future. So today what you're going to learn is basically what you can pass on to your kids or these schools in which CISO platform is going to help you. Terry is a cybersecurity expert and a renowned certified ethical hacker for his long-term work with cybersecurity and protection. He is the creator of Internet Safety University, which is a system that's been used to help defend corporations and individuals from cyber threats. Terry is also the vice president of CERCO, an investigation and protections firm in Montreal, Canada, and was named number one to IFSEC Global's top 20 most influential people in cybersecurity for 2018. Thank you so much, Terry, for joining us today. Over to you.
Thank you so much. It's a real pleasure to be here. So I got to tell you, I'm both challenged and excited. Okay, I'm excited because I get to give back about a topic I'm so fondly passionate about, but I'm challenged because this topic usually lasts about 6 hours, and I've got like 45 minutes to deliver this. And not only that, I feel like I'm talking to myself because I usually engage with a large audience. So now I don't have anybody to talk to, so I'll just listen to myself for the whole time. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm Terry Cutler. I've been in IT for about 20 years, and in 2005, I started getting inspired by watching shows like CSI and 24. I'm like, how does Chloe O'Brien break in all these systems so fast? I don't know if you remember 24 with like Jack Bauer and such. And I found out there was an actual course called the Certified Ethical Hacker where they teach you the same techniques that the bad guys use to break in, except you're using these skills for good. And so, armed with that knowledge, I started giving a lot of educational talks and awareness trainings to corporations, parents, teachers, law enforcement, and the kids, especially on how to keep safe online and avoid being attacked or scammed or hacked online. Um, and then what happened was the media started calling me and to explain how these breaches are happening or how kids are being cyberbullied online and such. And it really mushroomed from there. I started getting so many calls to be in so many places at once that I couldn't handle the load. So I created this online course called Internet Safety University, which teaches parents how to keep up to date with their kids. Because the reason why this course was created is that back in the day, if I was watching television and my parents didn't like what I was watching, they would come in the room and change the channel on me. But now with the kids being online, it's the kids that are being active, and the parents have absolutely no clue what they're doing online. So my mission was to help the parents get up to speed so they can protect themselves online like they do in the real world. And then eventually, I started winning all these monstrous industry awards, and this year I was named number one most influential. Sorry, in 2018 I was named number one most influential in cybersecurity, which was a shock to me, but I'm happy. And then finally, I got to meet my idol, which is Chloe O'Brien from the show 24. This was happened last summer. So this talk I broke down into 5 sections. Okay, we're gonna talk about staying safe online. We'll talk about some dangers of social media. We'll cover cyberbullying. We're gonna give some solutions and strategies, and then my favorite part of the show, which is the question and answer session. So usually when I'm with the kids, I'll always ask the question, so how many of you guys here know how to use Google? And I always get the same reaction, oh, Terry, come on, seriously? Like, who doesn't know how to use Google? Then I asked them again, so how many of you guys really know how to use Google? And that's when they start looking at each other like, oh, what do you mean? So Google knows about a trillion different websites in its database, okay? So the goal here is to find out information about yourself that you didn't even know existed. So we're going to be doing these advanced, they're called search operators. So let's do an example, okay? So the first thing you're going to want to do is go into Google's configuration and turn off safe search. Now, the reason why you want to turn this off is because if I'm trying to do a search for my information and somebody posted, well, Terry Cutler is a jerk, I may not see that because it's being filtered. So you want to turn that off. And you want to type in your first name and last name, okay? So I'm going to use my name for this example. So if I just type in Terry Cutler, you see that I end up with about just under 600,000 results. I mean, that's just way too much information about myself. I mean, I'm not that popular. So it's like, it's way too much information. So one way to limit this information is to use quotes around your name, okay? So you saw that I dropped from 600,000 hits to about 23,000 results. And the reason for that is because if you don't put the quotes, Google is going to look for the word Terry and Cutler as two separate words. So if you put them in quotes, Google is going to look for exactly that word or whatever you put in here. And this is actually great for kids doing homework as well. So if they're doing assignments, say on blue whales, the Google's going to look for blue and whales as two separate results. You're going to end up with millions of hits. So it's important to use quotes and pluses and such, which I'm going to show you in a second. So we end up with 23,000 hits here, and this still is way too much information. So what you want to do is you want to put your name in quotes and maybe put or your kid's name in quotes and maybe put something else that maybe that's relevant to them. Maybe they belong to a sports team, or maybe put your house address, put something afterwards. So in my case, I use the word hacker, okay? So I'll use Terry Cutler in quotes plus hacker. So you saw that I dropped from 600,000 hits to 23,000 hits to under 6,000 hits. Now, what we're doing here is we're drilling down on information that we didn't know was there. Now, the problem that I see here is that I already know about terrycutler.com. I already know about myself on LinkedIn. I already know about Security Week and Digital Locksmith. I know all this stuff. I don't want to see it. So how do I remove this? Well, one way you can do that is by using the minus operator. So Terry Cutler with the word hacker minus terrycutler.com minus Security Week minus Facebook minus LinkedIn minus, and whatever you have left over is possibly stuff you didn't know was there. So one example that happens with me often is that somebody writes an article about me and I didn't know it was there because I'm not the one who put it there. So that's how you would find it once Google indexes it. You also want to make sure that you look into images. Maybe someone's tagged you in photos and such. In my case, you see here in the middle, somebody tagged me in a bunch of toilets. Now, the reason for that is actually I wrote an article on how I hack into companies by using their public washrooms, and I leave USB keys in them. So that image is actually relevant. So you want to see what's there. You want to look also in the videos, see what people have put there. So that's what the part where I look at the kids. I'm like, okay, so how many of you guys have actually found any information there? And a lot of them don't. It has happened where students will find a news article because the local newspaper ran a story about them because they were a winning team, and they didn't know it was there. So I asked them how many of you guys put your addresses and such in there, and no one ever finds anything. So then I asked them the question, how safe do you feel? So I'd like to show you a video demonstration of how I can track you online right to your doorstep based on information that you've posted online. So hopefully the audio works here. 1 minute. Hey everyone, Terry Cutler here with Internet Safety University, and I'd like to conduct an experiment to show you just how hard it is to target you or your kids online. So let's start by going online and joining a popular chat room that discusses movies. Now on the right-hand side, we have an active list of other members currently in the chat room. So let's pick someone at random. How about Julia01? Posting as a fellow chatter, we'll engage Julia in a private conversation and we'll ask her for her ASL, which stands for age, gender, and location. How rude, she politely tells us to get lost. Now, most online chat rooms allow users to fill in information about themselves in their profile, hoping to find other people with common interests. So while these profiles can be useful, they can also make you vulnerable. For example, let's see what Julia filled out in her profile. We select her name and view her profile. Awesome job, Julia. She didn't list her age, location, gender, or even post a picture of herself. But what does her name tell us? Is she male or female? If her brother's name is Sam Jr., what might her father's name be? The two buttons at the bottom here allow us to email or instant message her as much as we want. By clicking on the Send Email button, my email client opens up, which reveals her email address. Now we're getting somewhere. Now, after about 2 minutes of searching, we've determined that Julia is most likely a female teen. She likes movies and hanging out with friends. She has a little brother who most likely answers to the name Sam Jr. She has a valid email address and an instant messenger account. And we have accurate addresses for both. Now, another place to look for information is local classifieds or news group postings. Since we have a valid email address for Julia, we can use it to search through these postings. Now I know how many messages Julia has posted and the message post as well. In this classified ad, she has posted several personal identifiers. Do you see them? They are her telephone number, the time of day she'll most likely be home, her mother or sister's name, and her email address. About 4 minutes have gone by, so here's what we know so far. We know that her first name is Julia. She appears to be in her teens. Her interests are movies and hanging out with friends. She has a younger brother named Sam Jr. She has valid email and instant messenger accounts. She has a mom or sister named Diane. We have a good idea of what time of day we can find her at home. And we have her home telephone number. How useful do you think her telephone number is? Even if we only had her area code, we can quickly use it to get an idea of her geographical location. Let's quickly ask Google where on earth this area code is. Bingo, we appear to be tracking her in the Montreal area. However, since we have her entire telephone number, let's use the white pages website like Canada411.ca to perform a reverse phone number lookup to see what else we can find out about Julia. Interesting. The search revealed the last name of the person Julia's telephone number is registered to. This could very well be Julia's last name as well. As a side note, if you Google your phone number and it reveals too much information, you can simply make a request to the website administrator to remove or change your information. As for Julia, we now have her last name. And not only that, the search also revealed her address too. Point Calumet. I'm not familiar with that place. Oh, look, how convenient. I get directions to her house with one more click. Now it guides me step by step on how to get from where I am to where Julia lives. This is so great. Seems a little too far for me to drive just to get familiar with her area. Since I'm lazy, I'll just use Google Street View to drive around her area and see what it's like. By going to maps.google.com, I can enter her address and I can instantly see her house. And what's even cooler than that is that by dragging this little yellow guy here at the bottom right onto the red balloon, it will allow me to panoramically view the streets and the houses in Julia's area. Wow, this is so convenient, I tell you. Now, what about schools in the Point Calumet area? I wonder if we can find out where Julia goes to school. That should be pretty easy to track down, actually. So let's go to an online search engine and put in schools Point Calumet. Our search reveals a few local schools. We can read articles about events in which these schools have been involved. We have the street address and directions for the schools. But most importantly, we can link to the school's websites. That will allow us to find even more detailed information about the school, such as class times, lunch schedules, and possibly pictures of students. It's been 15 minutes since we first identified Julia in the chat room. Let's review what we figured out about her in that short period of time. We know that she's a female teen. We know her first name is Julia Doe. Her email address is julia01@sciologylabs.com. She likes movies and hanging out with friends. She has a brother named Sam. She collects or trades movies. We know her full name of her mother, father, and brother. We know her home telephone number is 514-555-5514. We know she's probably home by 6:30 on weekdays. Her mom gets home from work by 6:30. She lives at 555 15th Avenue in Point Calumet, Quebec, to which we're able to get specific directions to her front door. And finally, we know what schools are closest to her home. I hope you enjoyed this break.
So that usually scares the kids as well as the parents of how easy it is to track them online. And this is particularly easy for predators, right? So they're grooming these kids online. They're checking what they're posting online, and they can befriend them. Things like, oh, I see that you're interested in skateboarding. I like skateboarding too. I have the latest Tony Hawk board. Maybe we can hang out at the park one day. So things like that evolve. As I mentioned earlier in the video, if there's things that you don't think are appropriate to be on Google, you can go and ask to be removed from the database. Another thing that's very important or useful, especially for students, is Google Alerts. So in my case, I always like to know what's being posted online about me, and I don't have time to always search the web. So I would type in the search query Terry Cutler with the word hacker and such, and then whenever somebody publishes an article about me, I'll actually receive an email. So for example, if I was in the news recently about a case where these students were planning to murder another classmate, what happened was the mom found the texts on her iPad because they were linked. And the mom stepped in and called law enforcement, and they were able to stop the attack before it happened. And that's something I'm seeing often in schools is especially around sexting, where the kids are sending inappropriate photos to their boyfriend or girlfriend, which could later be used against them. And I'll cover that in a bit. And we see a lot of kids that are talking to strangers online. And the problem is you never really know who this person is, especially if you've never met them in real life. So, for example, in this case, this guy's from the UK, and he had about 8 different Facebook profiles, and he was actually grooming boys. So he was posing as a 15-year-old girl to lure boys, and he was tricking them into revealing themselves in some way that the person can use these digital images after to kind of blackmail them into doing other stuff for him. So that's where he eventually got arrested. So it's important also that the kids don't keep this bottled up. Look for symptoms at home where if back in the day we used to say, okay, leave the computer in a public area. Well, now today it's not possible because they're on their iPads, they're in their room, it's all wireless. You have no space in the living room for a computer. So you got to look for warning signs. Things like as you walk past them, are they hovering over their keyboard or hiding stuff on the phone or switching screens on you right away? You got to look for that. Or there's some abbreviations. It's called internet lingo. And I talk about that in the full version of the course where I kind of bring the parents up to speed on what some of these abbreviations mean, because sometimes the kids could be texting to some stranger saying, I can't talk now, parents in the room. Well, you got to pick up on these signs. So bottom line is, a lot of this stuff could have been prevented had the kid just told a parent or an authority. Especially around webcams. It's happening more and more now where kids are posting videos of themselves naked and sending it to their boyfriend or girlfriend. And what happens usually is, especially if it's a girl sending it to the boy is always going to share it with his friends. Okay. So a lot of times they'll think, oh no, it's just for him, it's private. But no, it's not. It's shared. So I've seen that firsthand. Another thing that's happening also online a lot is it's called swatting. This is where kids are playing, say, Call of Duty. And using the same techniques as I showed you earlier in the video, the kids are finding out where the other player is living, and maybe he doesn't like the way he plays. So he calls the local law enforcement saying, hey, this guy, he's got these guns, he's holding his family hostage, go help him. And next thing you know, the SWAT team shows up at the guy's house and smashes his door in and like arrests him on live stream. So it's you got to really be careful what you're posting online. That's the bottom line. I'm also seeing things where kids are just adding as many people as they want, random strangers, which could also be predators, pedophiles. And when they go to locations, they are doing what's called check-ins. So they're actually broadcasting their geolocation to where they are. And if there's any stalkers, they could be following them. So it's very important that they check their privacy setting. And I'll talk about that in a bit. The other thing I see a lot of is that the kids are endangering their parents, their computer for work, for example. It happens a lot where the parents come home from work, they have a laptop, the kid uses it for his homework and starts downloading other stuff, such as pirated movies or pirated games, or even pirated software, and they install it and the computer gets infected. And the parent brings the infected computer back to work, and now the whole company gets infected or possibly hacked. and they don't realize that you can actually get lawsuits from downloading these pirated movies. You may have received, say, an email from your ISP saying, "Hey, I noticed you downloaded this movie. You've been flagged." Okay, so you never know. So don't be a pirate. So the bottom line for this is that think of the internet as a glass house. Okay, whatever you post online can be found, and the internet never forgets. So let me just show you one more quick video here.
Hey, Sarah.
Oh gosh, this is so cute. How do you know Cameron?
Oh, Jonathan, do it like I taught you. Love the new tattoo, Sarah. Let's go!
Dude, that's Sarah. The girl in the pink shirt. That's the girl I was telling you about. Oh, that's Sarah?
Theater 2 on your left. Hey, Sarah. What color underwear today?
Hey, Sarah. So when are you going to post something new?
Anything you post online, anyone can see. Family, friends,
See you later, Sarah.
even not so friendly people. Think before you post.
All right, so let's talk about social networking. There's a crazy game that's online right now called Fortnite. I'm not sure if it's popular over in India, but in North America, it's pretty much the hottest game. Millions of people play this game online. It's like a cartoonish Call of Duty kind of thing. And what's happening is that there's these folks that are sextorting children in the game. So what happens is that they will somehow contact you or trick you into going on social media or WhatsApp, and you're gonna be talking to this guy called Momo. It's called the Momo Challenge. And what happens is that this person is going to send you an email saying, "Hey, you don't know me, but your password is this," and it could be your real password. And if you don't, and I have a video of you doing inappropriate stuff. If you don't do this, I'm going to send that video to all of your contacts. And it's actually very credible because they're getting your password from a hacked website that you may not have ever changed your password since. So when you receive an email like this or a notification, you're going to think, "Oh my God, I've been compromised. What am I going to do?" And it's very important that you don't engage with this chat or this character, because what they're going to, and this can also lead to kids suicide. It's happened a couple of times here in Canada where kids have actually committed suicide because they thought they were compromised. So it's very, and you see the police urge parents to talk online privacy with their kids. The challenge I see with this is that the parents a lot of times don't even know what privacy is online because they want to go home and watch television instead of, learning from their kids what they're doing online. So it's important that you sit down with your kids and have your kids teach you what the latest things are. So it's very important that you don't send out inappropriate photos. And also, you got to learn to choose your friends wisely. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of people like to just add random people so they look popular, and they have no idea who they're adding, and it could be a potential threat at some point. So a lot of folks, a lot of kids I speak to are always on. A lot of them are on Instagram, and they have public accounts. So I show them how to go in and into the settings and change their account into private. So only you have to accept your friends every single time. The other thing that's very important is kids that share passwords. And I'll show you a video about this shortly. But I'm seeing a lot of issues where kids are sharing each other's passwords to their accounts, and bad things can happen here. So it's very important that you have a strong password, and I'll show you one that in a bit. But it's also very important to enable what's called two-step verification or two-factor authentication. This is where if somebody got a hold of your password, they have to log in with a text message that comes to your phone. So it's very important that you activate this feature. So this way, if your password gets hacked, they can't get into the account without that randomized code that's going to come to your phone. With Facebook, I see so many parents, especially that don't have their proper settings configured in Facebook where a lot of their photos are actually public, and their photos can be taken and created with a fake account, and then all your friends get re-added, and then they're going to try and scam your friends saying, "Oh, I'm in the UK. I've been mugged. I need money to come home. Can you send me $500?" So one thing you want to look at is what's called a privacy checkup. So if you go to your mobile device, you click on the more option at the bottom of your app, and then go to privacy shortcuts. And what will happen here is you can say, who can see my stuff? And right now it's set up for friends, but a lot of you guys could be configured for public. Okay. So there's either public, friends, or only me. So there's ways to configure this. You want to make sure it's not public. So this way you can at least control the content. And you can also review where you've been tagged in. So you can see that maybe your friends have tagged you in certain photos and such. But what you have to pay attention to is anyone that has a globe next to it, a world icon. That means that this photo is public, which means I don't have to be your friend to download your pictures. So if one of your friends tagged you and you see this, you got to call up your friend and say, hey, can you change your privacy settings? Now, another option or another problem I could see is that, I'm set up for friends and I'm okay. But there's an option here called friends of friends, where say I'm friends with one person who's friends with you, but you're not friends with me. But through his connection, I can still see your photos. So you got to make sure it's set for friends only. So that's why important and not just public. There's also a really cool option called who can see my timeline. What do other people see on my timeline? So you can actually do a view as. So at the top of the corner here, you type in view as a specific person, and it allows you to actually see what your Facebook profile looks like from someone who's not even connected with you yet, and allows you to clean up your profile. I actually have a great video demonstration on internetsafetyuniversity.com, which I'll share at the end. It's about 6 minutes long, and we do a full cleanup of your site, of your profile. So how do you spot fake profiles? I get this question a lot. So the average person has about 140 friends. They have a tag or a post every couple of hours, and looks very legit. A fake profile has more than 700 friends, and maybe the last time they posted was a year ago or months ago, and it's just never updated. So here's an example of a person who added me on Facebook. So I had no idea who this person is, and so I asked the audience, do you know how to check if this person's a real person or it's a fake profile? So one way to do that is to go to images.google.com, and then what you want to do is you want to save that image to your desktop, and you're going to drag and drop this image into Google. And it's going to go and find out and show you where else this image is being used. So it actually identified her as Juliana Avros, who's actually suing Match.com for like $1 billion because she's a model. And this is actually a really cool tactic to use for yourself as well, because you want to see if anybody else is using your photos. So you want to drag and drop some of your images into Google Images, and it's going to show you where else your photo is being used. That's what happened to a barmaid here in Montreal. She her photos were stolen and used on a Ukrainian website, as well as a Ukrainian profile, and they were re-adding all their friends and trying to scam them. Sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words, so it's very important that you ask permission whenever you want to share photos, especially if you're at somebody else's house. So say you're at this person's house, and you walk into one of the rooms, and the kid sprayed paint all over the room and all over the television and such, all over his brother, and you think it's funny, so you post the photo online. Well, one, you never ask permission to do that, and if someone ever does that to you, you can untag yourself, and if it's a harmful photo, you can actually report it. Another thing you can do here is called Facebook graphing. So if you go to Facebook and type in photos of and your name, it's going to show you all your photos that you've been tagged in and where else on the web it is, or where else through Facebook it is. So you can do some really cool stuff here. Now let's look at this update and you tell me what's wrong with it. Okay, so Brittany is such a loser. She asked in class if Canada was a country, LOL. So what's wrong with this post? Well, it actually symbolizes cyberbullying. What about this one? Woohoo, going to Florida for a whole week. Be back next Sunday. See ya. Now, the worst part is I see the parents posting this more than the kids. And basically what you're telling the world right now is that your house is empty. Come rob me. Okay? Just got a new iPhone. I want to test my ringer. Can someone call? And the phone number. I see this so often, especially with parents that or teens that lose their phone and say, hey, can you send me back your contact? Can you send me back your phone number so I can re-add you to my contacts? But what happens here is that sometimes people can start messing around with you at 3 o'clock in the morning with text messages. Hey man, let's get together after school at my house. There's the address, right? So by using Google Street View, we can find out where this person lives, and predators can actually try to trick them. This is an actual real story of a case where somebody posted an event, their birthday party, and made it public. That's why I stressed earlier, make sure it's for friends only, or by invite. And so this person invited their friends for the birthday party, but it was set to public, and 21,000 people registered for the event. So they had to cancel that pretty quick. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of schools are dealing with a sexting problem, where they're sending naked photos to each other, and it's becoming a huge problem. The biggest problem that they don't realize is that you're actually distributing child pornography at this point. And so if adults get a hold of these images, law enforcement can get called in, and you'd be in serious trouble. You can actually go to jail for housing child pornography. And that can also lead to what's called revenge porn, where you sent a photo to a person or a video of when you were dating because you trust them and you love them and such, but then sometimes they break up and they still have copies of the videos and photos, which can be used against you at a later time, especially if you become famous. So you got to make sure you don't send out inappropriate photos, because once you send that out, you no longer control it. So let's quickly talk about cyberbullying. So what is it? So basically, cyberbullying is bullying through electronic means, things through text messages and YouTube videos. It's extremely important that you don't get engaged with this. And I'll talk about that in a second. So as I mentioned earlier, a lot of this is happening, especially from sharing passwords. So, hey, Susan, my password for my Facebook account is adorable54. What's yours? So they share passwords and they log into each other's accounts, and they send out inappropriate photos and hateful messages, thinking it came from the account holder. So let me just show you one last video here. 1 second.
I used to have a best friend named Katie. We shared everything, even our passwords. One day I got online and noticed a bunch of emails from someone whose name I didn't recognize. The subject was, "You look hot." I opened one up and read what it said. It was from a guy at school who was 2 grades older than me. He said he wanted to do stuff that I'm embarrassed to even say. These girls at school, the beautiful people as I call them, they convinced Katie to give them my password. She thought that if she gave it to them, it would make them like her. I think she was scared too. These girls do mean things to everyone. Anyway, the girls got into my email and sent emails to all the senior guys that looked like they were from me. In the email was a picture of me with no clothes on. They got a picture of someone else from an adult website and photoshopped my class picture headshot on it, I guess. Then they wrote things like, "I will do anything to make your fantasies come true," and signed my name. Since it came from my account, everyone thought I really sent it. Now I can't go anywhere at school without guys looking at me funny and people whispering and pointing at me when they think I can't see. I don't have any friends, and I don't even talk to Katie anymore. I feel so alone. I wish I could move somewhere and start over. I thought it was safe to share my password with my best friend. Now I know you can't. wish I could disappear.
I really hope the audio is okay on your side there. Worst case, it's available in the course. So let's take a second and talk about passwords, okay? I always ask the question, how many of you have really crappy passwords? Like I'm talking like John123. Okay, I actually see a lot of this, especially when I do, whenever I get called in to do hacking engagements. And once I break into the system, I'm able to extract everybody's passwords, and I could see how terrible a lot of these passwords are. So I'd like to take a second right now and show you how to create an unbreakable password. Okay, you're gonna thank me for this. So to create an unbreakable password, you want to have 16 to 24 characters long. Now, I know what you're thinking right now. Is this guy crazy? Like, how on earth am I going to remember a password this long? Okay, so stay with me. It's going to be very simple. So you want to make sure that your password has uppercase, lowercase, and symbols in it. Okay, and to ease the pain, think of song lyrics or phrases. Okay, so if we look at here's a simple phrase. I had a great day at school 2019. Okay, it's very simple. So what you want to do is remove the spacing and capitalize each letter of the word. This password alone will take 10 years to crack. So just don't use it because like 1 million people are using this password right now. And if you really want to make it unbreakable, you're going to replace the A's with that symbol and the O's with a 0. And this password alone will take 39 centuries to crack. So I always ask the students, what do you do when you see this in the schoolyard? And, you know, I get funny answers back like, oh, I'd punch him out, you know. But what you want to do is you want to make sure that you report the bullying. Don't get involved, okay? So don't participate, encourage others to stand up. But then I asked the question, so what happens if you see this online? So it's the same concept. You want to make sure that you collect the evidence. Don't respond. That's the biggest thing. Don't create a video and respond to the cyber harassment. Your goal is just to collect and then involve law enforcement and such. So this allows you to collect the evidence and bring it to the school, because now here in Canada, I'm not sure if you have that in India, we have Bill 56. And this is our cyberbullying act, where if students are being bullied, the school can step in and actually bring in law enforcement, and the kids and the kids' parents and the bully's parents will all get into a room and try to resolve the situation. And depending on the severity, the law enforcement can actually step in as well. And a lot of kids, they think that they're invincible when they're online. Okay, so we have technology that allows me to engage with a cyber bully, for example, and once he clicks on my links, I can actually get within 5 meters of his computer. I can get so precise that I would know exactly what side of the house he's on. Okay, and I have his IP address and everything. I can provide that to law enforcement. So let's talk about some solutions and strategies for a second. We talked about the importance of two-step verification. It's crucial that you put this on all of your accounts. Your Facebook has it, your Gmail has it, Instagram has it. All of your accounts usually have this support. So you want to make sure it's turned on, because right now everybody's being hacked, and people are not changing their password. It's going to be used against you. And to recover a Facebook account can seriously take a whole week, like 40 hours. You have to work with Facebook. I'm telling you, it's such an inconvenience. So you don't want to be that person. So I always ask the audience, how do you recognize a break-in on your computer? Can you name some of the symptoms? And they'll start screaming out a whole bunch of stuff, but the usual signs of a break-in is your antivirus starts detecting a problem. Your pop-ups are suddenly appearing. Disk space is disappearing. One of the funniest things that I ever got was I get a question like, hey, my mouse is moving by itself. Is that normal? I'm like, no, it's not normal that your mouse is moving by itself. So there's a good chance your computer's been compromised. What about if you have malware on there? Malicious software. How do you know that your computer is infected? Well, things like your browser start page will change.
So if you're used to your computer turning on and you go on the internet and it's usually going to Google the first time, and now it's going to like ask.com or some other website, there's a good chance your computer has malicious software on it. You end up on strange looking websites, or there's new icons appearing on your desktop, or or also the biggest one is your computer has gone really slow. Have you ever noticed that sometimes you buy a brand new computer and it's so fast, and then a week or a month later it's like, oh my god, it's so slow. There could be an infection on it. So if we quickly talk about some safe and secure practices, it's extremely important that you start doing backups at your house, okay? Because now with the new viruses that are going out, one of them is called ransomware. If you've never heard of this type of virus, it could destroy your life. It could destroy your company. What happens is that a virus comes through your computer, a file, and you open it, and what it does is it encrypts all of your files in the company, all your photos, your documents, confidential information. It locks it all down and encrypts it, and it actually holds you hostage until you actually pay the scammers in Bitcoin, which is a digital currency, an untraceable currency actually. And they might say, okay, you're going to pay me in 1 Bitcoin. So you might be thinking, oh, that's easy, I'll just pay that right away. But the price of Bitcoin now is like $6,000 for one. So it might cost you thousands of dollars to get your data back. So the other option is either pay the ransom or restore from backup. So I'd rather restore from backup if that's possible. Now, one of my most important questions for me is when I asked the kids in the audience, I'm like, how many of you guys are smarter than your parents when it comes to technology? At this point, their hands go through the roof. So I try to empower them at this stage, saying, hey, you know what? Your parents don't have the knowledge that you do. And it's important that you go home and sit down with your parents and teach them how to get up to speed. Okay. So they got to know things like when to unplug, important to communicate. So just because your kids are online and not outside doesn't mean they're not communicating with people. They're actually very plugged in with their friends and the outside world, but via an iPad. So that's all I have for you today. So if you have any feedback or whatever, you can always participate on my website, or can always send me an email at terrycutler.com. I invite you to connect with me on my various social media channels. You can go to my YouTube channel where I have like tons of videos there, or my blog at terrycutler.com. And then now I got my favorite part, which is the Q&A.
Great, Terry. Thank you for the great session.
How was the video, by the way?
Mostly it was less clear than just your voice, but it was doable.
Okay.
Quite clear, actually. I mean, doable. It sounded a little like the 60s time TV audio.
Nice.
With a little bit of noise. Not as clear as digital voice nowadays, but completely doable. Just hold on. I'll open the Q&A for everybody. Let's see. So right now, everybody is unmuted. They've kept themselves mute, actually. Yeah. So, guys, I'm talking to the community members right now. I've unmuted all of you for the Q&A section. So if there's anything that you want to ask Terry Cutler regarding how to train your kids or anything, you can just either pop in the question or go ahead with voice. I've unmuted everybody. Everybody of you is a mute. You have muted yourselves, so you can unmute yourselves and just have an open conversation with Terry. This doesn't generally happen, so I guess everybody's muted themselves. Let's see if I can help them unmute.
They're all shy, or they all fell off their chair. Actually, I was
This
muted,
is.
so are you sure maybe the people are still muted?
I'm unmuting them one by one. Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm actually unmuting you guys so that you can directly talk to Terry. We don't want the one-sided conversation, so you can directly go ahead and do the Q&A session. You can
Yeah,
ask
hi Terry.
anything.
How are you?
Yeah, hi Terry. This is am I from India?
How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm good. Have you?
Good, good.
Great. So I have a question here. I mean, I am an InfoSec manager, by the way.
Yeah.
So my question is, how do we understand if our relative or our child or anyone about whom we need to take an information, their information has been breached or not? I mean, is there some level we can understand with name or something we can get the information about the risk? So is there anything, any technology available in the market for like that? For example, if I put my name on my Lakeshri, I'll come to know over
Okay.
an internet how secure my information is.
Yeah, we are discussing it. Sure.
That's hard to say. Okay, so for example,
Yeah.
there's
He called
one way
for
to
me in
solve.
that regard only. He's Raj. Now he joined some meeting. So now how to sort it out? That's what we have to sort it out. Whether uh, whatever things you are receiving through the email, can we keep in our SFTP server from there? Team will log in and process it. Because we just now we burnt our fingers. The
Hey,
issue
Tori,
happened.
have you got my question?
Yeah, so okay, so one way you can find out if your information's been compromised. Are you familiar with the website
Okay.
called Have I Been Pwned?
Excel they can put. Can you do Babu or maybe Babu? I try to.
I'm trying to see if I can.
Priyanka, can you please mute
I
the person? Yeah, that
I
person.
did that. I did that. Yeah.
So there's a website out there called Have I Been Pwned, and
Okay.
you would type in your email address or your password, and it will tell you which database your password landed in if it was compromised. Because I don't know if you saw the news a couple of weeks ago, there was 772 million passwords that were stolen, accounts, and so this developer kind of merged all these hacked databases into one, and shows you where your password may have been compromised.
Okay.
If you send me an email, I can send you the website link. That's good. That's good. There's trying to think where else you can look at.
Sure,
I have a
I'll drop
bunch
you.
of locations, but you can send me an email and I'll send you back some lists.
Sure, I'll do that. I'll do that. Thanks for the information.
Hi,
Am I audible?
can you hear me? That sounds worse than the 1960s. That you sound really far away.
Hold on. Who was that who was speaking? I'll have to unmute everybody one by one. Hold on. You've gone mute, whoever was speaking. Could you please drop me your name? I'll unmute you first in the chat box. Just drop me your name in the chat box.
Hi, am I audible now?
Yeah, I
Is
hear
this
you.
Ashish?
Correct.
Yes. Okay. Ashish, great. Go on. We can hear you now.
Okay, great, fantastic. So great session. Thank you so much, Terry. It was informative, and the best part of it was it was not a drag. In a very
Thank
limited
you.
time, you've covered quite a lot. So am really appreciative of that fact. Uh, one important thing I wanted to actually get your thoughts on was about a couple of questions actually. One is you mentioned about have I been warned, and one of very recently, just yesterday, we were conducting one session in one of the schools, and I got a question that how secure is it of uploading your email ID on haveibeenpawned.com? That's number one. Uh, Second was on the lines of what are your thoughts on password managers? Again, it is a debatable topic, but maybe I thought it'd be good to get your insights.
Yeah, really good question. Thanks for asking that. So I'm actually terrified of putting my email address into I've been pwned. So so I actually know Troy, the guy who created that website. So right there's a bit of trust, but at the same time, um, he promises that he's only using the hash values of what you're putting in there. So he's not actually collecting your email supposedly. But like most websites, you're not guaranteed what he's going to do with the information. So what I usually do is whenever I see a breach like this and I know that I've used that service, I just change my password right away. But the good news is that if say LinkedIn was hacked, right, and my password was a strong password, as long as I have the two-step verification enabled, I feel like I'm more protected. And if somebody was trying to use my password, I would receive a text message randomly from somebody trying to log into my account. That's when I know that somebody's got access to my credentials. I gotta change them. Now, going to the second question about the password managers, they're good, but at the same time, they create passwords for you that are completely meaningless. So if one day you had to log into your accounts that you didn't have access, say you're on vacation and you didn't have your computer or your phone with you, but you had to log into your account. So you find a local internet cafe. Well, you're not going to remember your password to get into it. So there's also been a problem with LastPass, for example. They were hacked, and all the stored passwords were breached. So that's why I prefer to create maybe 5 passwords instead of 50, and that are very strong passwords, and I just rotate those passwords. That's my choice. I just create those passwords with two-step verification.
And then you reuse those passwords for 100 accounts that you might be having.
Yeah. So again, most of my passwords are 24 characters and over. So I only have like 5 or 6 passwords that I carry.
Okay, but again, I mean, I'm not sure on the reuse part of it, because again, you would not want to bring as part of. I understand what you're saying, and I understand the idea behind your 5-6 passwords. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that fits for you maybe.
Yeah. Well, it's only because I got about 60 different websites that I use, right? So it's really hard to carry 60 different passwords unless I got access to my password manager all the time. Then fine.
Okay.
So it all depends, especially like if you're dealing with people that are non-technical, they don't understand this stuff at all. So that's why I teach them to create strong passwords instead.
Fair enough. Thank you so much once again, Terry. And the sorting part of it was the most hilarious. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Terry, this is Satish.
Hi, how are you?
Quick question on using proxies. Some of the online streaming websites are blocked in the country. So some of my cousins asked, I heard proxy themselves, use, malicious software, so it is risky. So they were asking if there is any free proxy software which can be used safely. Any trusted one from your end?
I don't use any of the free ones. I think there was one called Chains. I haven't touched that in years, but I use one called
NordVPN, N-O-R-D VPN, and it allows me to tunnel into various countries. It's really rare that I use it for like malicious purposes, but sometimes I have to do investigations where I have to hide my tracks. And there's a good chance that law enforcement or the intelligence agencies have a plug into these proxies, so you're never really anonymous, in my opinion.
Yeah, I
don't think
understand.
so.
And
Like
Terry,
again,
please
the
continue.
NordVPN, I pay like I think it's like $100 a year, and you get up to 6
Okay.
devices.
Okay. And what's your opinion on the Windows free antivirus, the Windows Defender, which comes free with the OS?
I think it's terrible. Did I say that too loud? So, the problem with these technologies is that, one, Microsoft is not known for being that secure. Okay, so right away there's the trust factor. Also, in the full version of my course, they actually show you how to lock down your computer as a Mac, so it can be as strong. But you want to look for technologies such as Trend Micro or ESET that can actually do what's called behavioral analysis, because a lot the new viruses right now that are coming in don't have a signature. So these traditional virus scanners, they use what's called signature-based technologies. Every 4 hours, they go and update themselves to get up to speed. So when a virus comes through, it says, "Oh, I know what this is. It's going to block it." But we're all trained now to create our own custom viruses, and we can change the signature. And when the virus sees it, they're going to say, "I don't know what this is," and it's going to let it through. And then I can infect it. So this is why it's important to have these advanced technologies, even Malwarebytes, the pro version, not the free version, which can actively monitor your machine all the time. It'll detect these threats for you. So try to stay away from the free stuff.
Yeah. Thank you, Terry.
My pleasure. Any other questions?
Anybody else? Maybe raise your hand or unmute yourself. If you're unable to unmute yourself, just drop me your name in the chat. I'll help you unmute.
Hey, this is Tamarai from India. Will this video available later to be revisit?
Yeah, so you can. So this recording will be available, but you can also go to internetsafetyuniversity.com, and there's a similar presentation, but it's more professionally done.
Okay, because I thought of showing to my kid and wife about the how we supposed to be secure. So
yeah,
if it is available, it will much helpful.
yes,
Rather, I
yes,
explain, I
that's
can
one
ask
of
them
the
to hear you.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons we wanted both the parents and the kids to be here. Actually, we'll be sharing this. Don't worry.
Okay. So will be the you will be distributing to the same set of people who attended,
Yes.
or how I can access it?
We'll send you an email with the details.
Okay, thank you. It's a wonderful session. I would like to see such sessions quite often.
Great. Thank you. We are trying to do that. Let's see.
Much appreciated.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who has a question? You'll have to raise your hand.
Hi Terry, this is Harshal, currently working as a cyber forensic expert and penetration tester, and currently I'm working with the Indian government police, and I'm looking for the one kind of query, that what kind of evidences from the websites and internet we can collect to have a successful evidence collection, like means logs and from the servers.
Okay, that's very off topic, but are you using tools like Maltego?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's other tools out there, like most law enforcement are using like software like Palantir or i2 from IBM. So you want to make sure that are you talking about specifically for websites or computers as well?
Websites mainly. means social websites and various kind of websites are there. So means what kind of activities has been done in the past like that,
Hmm.
or else
Oh,
any malicious scripts are present on that or such kind of thing. That is the out of the context here.
Well, if you're in law enforcement, are you working with cases where
Yeah,
I made
from one company that somebody else stole their website and they're tricking their clients?
yeah.
போன வாட்டி ரிப்போர்ட்ல எவ்வளவு போட்டிருக்காங்க டிடெக்ஷன் எதுவும் இல்ல ஜீரோ தானே போட்டிருக்கு போன வார ரிப்போர்ட்ல
Yeah, I'm not sure if
Uh,
this question is. This is a
போன வார
very long
ரிப்போர்ட்ல
question,
Okay, fine.
but we can
Thank
talk
you.
about this offline. If you want to send me an email,
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
I
sure.
can I can send you a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, sure. Terry, thanks a lot.
But like when we deal with cases like here in Canada, we've dealt with a bunch of cases where these scammers cloned another person's website and they're trying to scam the clients into paying these fake invoices. And a lot of these websites are hosted outside of the country, so we have to start getting these court orders to try and find out who's really behind that IP because they're hidden.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that is the thing. That is the thing I was asking actually.
yeah, so
Can
are
we
you guys
trace
familiar
the
with,
person from the IP address?
are you familiar with like Norwich orders?
Not exactly.
I'm not sure if that's in India, but here in North America we have what's called a Norwich order, where we send a court order to things like GoDaddy or these other websites like Amazon to provide us the real identity of the person behind the website.
Yeah, means
That's one.
Mitra attack is there. Means like that we can request the Facebook and the Gmail server ISPs for the data.
Yeah, exactly. And there's also another one called are you using domain tools?
Domain tools, not no.
Okay, so the pro version actually reveals the who is history. So it actually shows you who registered the domain before they made it private.
Yeah, DNS dumpster and the netcraft we can use. From there
I
we
don't
can get the information.
I don't know those ones, but the pro version of DNS tools, or sorry, domain tools, can actually provide that information for you.
Is this website domain tools?
Yes, domain tools. It's expensive though. It's like $79 per month US.
Okay, nice.
But connect with me offline. There's some stuff I can
Yeah,
send you.
sure. Yeah, sure, Terry. Thanks a lot.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot.
Hey Terry, this is Ashish here again. Another question for you.
Sure.
I wanted to know if you are covering in any capacity the risks associated with Alexa or Google Home Mini or Kinect, maybe the one that comes with Xbox, and any guidelines on how to use them.
So I'm starting to look into that now. Ironically, it's funny you mentioned that. I was at an event recently and I won a prize where I won a Google Home Mini, and I never plugged it in yet. I'm too scared. So
Google has been in the news for some wrong reasons on this subject. So when you
yes,
mentioned about LastPass, uh, once they got breached, I was a little more comfortable using it because they had burned their hands. They might be a little more careful. I expect the same with Google Home. Maybe I'm not sure.
yeah. Well, you heard about I don't know if you heard about this, where I think it was Google, I think it was Amazon Alexa that was streaming the audio recordings of your home to other people, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. And now we
And
got the issue with FaceTime from Apple FaceTime, where you're able to hear what's happening in the room before the call starts.
yes. This is just, I think, 1 week back or maybe few days back.
Yeah,
Recent.
exactly.
So you've not been covering that aspect, right? For now.
I'm not covering them yet, but I will be.
Okay. And again, so like even you might have heard of this again the very viral game PUBG.
Sorry, can you repeat that question? I have a hard time hearing you.
A very viral game by the name of PUBG. Ever heard of it?
PUBG, yeah, I have heard of that. That's the is that the competitor to Fortnite?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I'm not sure of Fortnite, but it is an area of a little bit of moral dilemma, because you cannot say to the kids to not use the game or to not play, but there's also a lot of killings happening, like I don't know, Counter-Strike types or maybe something else.
Yes, I have heard of this.
And and again, the other day, I mean, we were just discussing about what is the role that a child psychologist would play, or how should we reach out and how do we go ahead with something like that. How have you been addressing this aspect?
It's going to be an uphill battle because the problem we have with the generation that we have with the kids is that they don't have privacy in mind. So they're just sharing anything they want, and everything hurts their feelings if they receive a negative comment. So that's why they're getting a lot of anxiety and depression and such, and a lot of it's coming from these games. Like I have two kids, two boys that play the Fortnite game, which is similar to PUBG, and just to take them off the game, it's like they're addicted. They're like an addict. They turn into monsters after. So I'm trying to find the right balance for this.
Fair enough. Thank you again, Terry.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the question segment? I don't see any hands up. I think we are done. In case you still have any questions, just drop me an email. And so you know me. You just need to drop me an email at CISO Platform, contact@CISOplatform.com or preetha.ash@CISOplatform.com. And we'll connect you to Terry. Terry, thank you so much for joining us today. In the future, if we have the kids joining in, we'd love to do another session. We'll let you know. Thank you so much. And I'll forward the video once we put this across.
For those of you that are interested, if you go to this website, there's a lot of stuff I showed you today, which is done in a more professional version. So it's a free workshop, and I even walk you through how to know if your computer's been hacked in 4 minutes.
Perfect. So those of you interested can also refer your kids to this website for the more professional version. Somebody's trying to talk. Sorry.
Yeah, so I'm assuming, Terry, that I can use the videos and content available on this website.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
So Terry, in our mission, basically, we are trying to spread the awareness to the kids. So it could be a kind of collab. Is it okay if we use some of your free workshop content with credits, of course?
Yes.
Oh, it's okay. Great. I'll anyways notify you. Don't worry. Okay. Thank you, Terry, and thank you everybody for joining today.
I love feedback, by the way. So if anybody of you guys have constructive feedback to give me, I would appreciate it.
Absolutely. Even for our vision, we are looking forward to feedback. This is important. Anyways, Terry, everybody in our community, there are a few people who are actually nominated to help us in the vision. We are hoping more people will join in, and we're hoping this to be successful in the sense that to reach out to more schools and more students. And it was great having you with us.
I really appreciate being here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Terry. Guys, I'll be disconnecting the webinar. You might get a poll. You can answer it. And there's a red cross on your control panel. That'll be ending your webinar. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll just go offline now.
Bye, everybody.
Terry, is there anything you want to say? No, right?
Nope. I
Okay,
just want
great.
to say thank you, everybody, for taking the time to my presentation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Terry, and thank you everybody else for joining us. We'll be taking this offline now. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Do I have to do anything here, or you're doing it?
No, I'll do it.
Okay. Thanks.
Great.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Same to you. Bye-bye.